How many people work for the foundation?
None.
So that's why you're taking 40 hours of your week up.
Well, I'm a volunteer. I do have some people who I do who I do work with to make things operate, including Mabel, who handles finances and is effectively a chief of staff. And we have legal help and so on, and communications help. My deal is that, again, I seriously am a 1950s nerd, and if I'm going to behave rationally, I have to recognize my limitations regarding communications, which are pretty severe. I realized that about 7 years ago, and since then I've started getting a lot of professional help regarding communications, training frequently, but I'm not a natural at communications. That requires social skills, and I can simulate social skills for brief periods of time, which you see me doing now, but that is only a simulation, and I can only take it for so long.
All right. You're very open about it.
Well, my deal is that I understand my limitations. I don't know if the cliche exists in the UK, but the cliche originated late 50s, early 60s of people, generally male, who would be really good at science and math, and yet terrible when it comes to social skills, street knowledge, and who would also wear thick black glasses taped together, and who would wear a plastic pocket protector.
Yeah,
and
I know the cliche.
I did all that. And it's entirely possible I'm nerd patient zero, but until I commission some research, I don't really want to. I talk about it, but I'd like to have some hard facts.
2016 was the year when you began to really put a lot of investment into journalism through your organization. What was it about 2016 that really made you think, I need to start doing this now?
Well, you've probably seen or heard me talk about that a trustworthy press is the immune system of democracy. And even in my naivete, I could see that the press, the immune system, was failing pretty badly. And instead of limiting or stopping the spread of disinformation, I could see that frequently the press was being gamed into spreading disinformation. And so intuitively, I recognized that something was going very badly wrong. And I started increasingly talking to people who knew much more about it than I do, which is, in a way, everyone who studies it. And in particular, I was talking to people like Jeff Jarvis at the CUNY Journalism School. And I may have it wrong, but I think it took me until the following year to notice that he was recommending taking a look at the NATO handbook on Russian information warfare, which was a compilation of what the Russian general staff had been saying starting in 2013. And he was right to show me that. And the Russians are not quite as good as they claim they might be, but they've been very, very busy in the US and Europe and elsewhere, and they've successfully destabilized governments.
And when you talk about the media here, are you talking about traditional media outlets as well as social media, or? Yeah, I'd be interested to know what kind of media you're talking about specifically, whether that was kind of spreading.
Well, the previous statements, particularly in that time frame, were about mass media. Since then, I've increasingly understood the role of news distributors, which includes conventional media, but also social media and others. And I've been talking to a lot of people who are specialists in journalism ethics, and they point out to me that the ethics of news distribution basically prohibits the amplification of disinformation. Sometimes it's hard to understand when you're being served disinformation, but in a lot of cases, there are pretty well-known disinformation super spreaders. And if you're going to behave in an ethical way, it is fairly easy to, let's say, to minimize the harm done by the worst of the disinformation super spreaders. And of late, social media platforms have taken steps to limit that.
And what have you made of those steps? Do you think they've done enough in general, or are heading in the right direction?
There, I yield to people who know a lot more than I do, and I now work with a lot of the people who do know much more than I do. And there was a report today literally today in the markup, which describes a lot of problems in social media. So that would be worth looking up. Yeah, the deal is that I guess I'm relatively knowledgeable compared to the vast majority of civilians in these matters. But I now work with a lot of the people who know the most and act the most regarding disinformation. So I will defer to them because that's a better use of your time and my time.
What do they generally tell you, though, currently?
They are pointing out that while the social media platforms have taken genuine steps regarding super spreaders and disinformation, that they're still missing a lot.
Is your feeling that the people running these social media platforms, like, naming names, Mark Zuckerberg, do you have an opinion on how well he is managing his organization, or do you prefer not to get involved in that side of things?
I don't really know. And I guess I, again, do no harm. I want to focus on things getting better rather than blame. That seems to be working. It's slow, and I'm used to moving far more quickly, like when it comes to funding organizations. But the only way I get results is by gently nudging and just doing so relentlessly over a long period. My action of my horizon when it comes to acting is only 20 or 30 years because I'm 68. I am taking I am planning for action beyond that time frame, and I've started planning the Craigbot.
The Craigbot, what's that?
Mostly a joke, but it does indicate my intention that the actions I'm taking now, I'm considering for the next 2 centuries.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that at the end of 2 centuries, we'll either be extinct or post-human. So I don't want to think that far ahead because I really can't empathize like the needs of a post-human with gills living in the ocean.
But so you're really thinking 2 centuries ahead in terms of the work you're doing to kind of help position the media in a better way.
Yeah, I don't want to take any special credit for that. The literature of my people is, the nerds, is science fiction, and contemporary science fiction heavily explores issues relating to media.
Yeah, interesting. So in the back to the present day, I suppose, and I think you kind of alluded to this a little bit in our email exchange. but again, without I suppose going into individual cases, do you think that social media platforms can sort out the disinformation, infodemic, whatever you want to call it, by themselves, or do you think there needs to be outside regulation across the world to kind of force change in that regard?
I'm focusing on this being a all hands on deck situation. We're in this together, and my strength is in working with those people across the US primarily, although somewhat in Europe as well, to work together to move things ahead. That includes people at think tanks, universities, individual researchers, and quietly people at the social media companies to pull together. My instincts tell me that that's the way to make things happen. I'll chat with people in government, but my intent is that no matter what people are required to do, it's still fighting back against those who wish us harm means that we are all in this together. We do need to work together, much like people worked together in World War II.